I'm the youngest of three brothers. My older brother is a CEO of an e-commerce business, and my other brother unfortunately passed away about 2 years ago. Here are the lessons that I have learned from both of my brothers. Growing up the youngest of three brothers, I am going to talk about some of the benefits and some of the things that I experienced. Although we all grew up kind of enjoying the same thing, we all skateboarded and rollerblade and had bikes and all that type of thing. We also had an interest in music, in art, and sports. So me and Lucas, the middle brother, we developed and grew more into the interests of business and sports, where my oldest brother, Justin, developed more of a love for art and music. And it's interesting to see how those paths kind of diverged a little bit, but there was also a lot of things I learned from being able to see my brothers process information with their friends and people that were older than me. So it gave me, in my opinion, a lot of advantages that maybe a lot of other people didn't have that were my age, because I was able to learn from people that were experiencing a different part of life and also experiencing it before me. So when I got to that point in my life, I felt like I was already kind of prepped and prepared for certain aspects. I wasn't as close to Justin. A lot of that was probably due to the age gap. He was about 5 years older than me, but I very much looked up to him. And even today, my favorite band is in large part because his influence on my life. We grew up in a very religious family, in a religious kind of atmosphere. And so the things that he loved, and ultimately I grew to love, were things like music. And we weren't really allowed to listen to certain types of music. And so because of the culture we grew up in, a lot of things were kind of siloed, and honestly there was a lot of secrecy because we were trying to hide the music that we were listening to because it wasn't really approved of. And so because of that, I wasn't able to really bond with him and connect with him over these things. He was also a musician, and so a lot of the venues that he would play, for one, I probably wouldn't have been able to get into, but he also was a little bit more private about it because it was kind of frowned upon in some of the circles that we grew up in. But luckily, as we both got older and he moved out, we were able to enjoy some stuff together. We went to multiple concerts together, and one of my favorite things that I got to do with him was hang out with him at his own home, in his kind of atmosphere with his wife. And it was just a great experience to get to listen to music in the way that he had developed his own kind of understanding and belief systems. Although they were different than how I saw the world, it was interesting and enjoyable to get to know him in that capacity. Later on in life, as I had kids and started a family, it was great to be able to have dinners together. He was actually a phenomenal cook as well. And so he would come over and help my wife cook and get to hang out together. He was very kind and gentle, and so the kids very much enjoyed hanging out with him and playing video games. And we didn't get as much time together as I wish we would have, but I do treasure the time that we had before his early death. There were a lot of great things that I enjoyed with my brother, but because I wasn't as close, there weren't as many life lessons that I can just rattle off that I learned from Justin. Things that I observed from Justin and watching him interact with my other brother, Lucas, are that you should be mindful of the things that you can pursue, and you don't always have to make a living out of the things that you love. You should probably try to make a living out of the things that you're talented in, and let those things that you're talented with become the things that you're passionate about. Adam here. We don't ask for any money, but if you want to help us out and support our mission, please subscribe and share with a friend. Lucas, my other older brother, has probably had the biggest impact on my life outside of maybe one or two other people. And we grew up together. We played baseball together. I was a freshman when he was a senior, so we trained together a lot in middle school and in high school. And his work ethic was inspiring. I remember a time we were playing baseball together. He was on the varsity team, I was on the JV team, and I remember us training together. And I remember just being pushed to try to keep up with him and run the same distance or the same speed to just represent our family well and to represent him well, and also just try to gain some of his approval as an insecure freshman. And so there's all kinds of times like that when we would work together. In my mind, is much more successful than me in his business mind trumps anything that I can imagine. He has the ability to see opportunities where many other people just overlook them. An example is in high school, working 3 months a year, really built a very strong, close to a 6-figure income, selling snow cones and selling hot dogs on the beach. And luckily I got to be a part of that with him. His now wife was actually working some of that with him as well. And so working alongside of him when I was younger really helped develop a work ethic and just an entrepreneurial attitude and perspective. And then also as an adult, just getting to do life with him, getting to be able to do things that we enjoy, like go to a baseball game, which we both love, going to concerts, which I probably love more than he does. But we get to just hang out and talk about parenting, talk about business, talk about being a spouse. And it's very encouraging and it's very helpful as you're trying to process life. It's nice to have someone who has a similar worldview, similar life experience, and has your best interest at heart. Although there are many people who don't have an older brother, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful. But I think it is important to recognize that it is helpful and sometimes even imperative that you have someone above you. And if you're a younger brother like me, you have the benefit of having brothers, but maybe those brothers aren't a good influence or haven't made good life choices, or maybe you're the oldest and you don't have older siblings above you. I think it's important to find mentors or find individuals that can help and that you can look up to. And I think that's one of the benefits that I had. Since my dad was 14 when I died, I lacked a lot of male leadership, or could have lacked. And so as a father, I have a son who's 18 and he doesn't have an older brother. But the good thing is that he has someone like myself, and he also has my brother, Lucas, who is a great uncle to him and is able to influence him in a positive way. So the big takeaway here is that it is awesome to be able to learn and draw things out of individuals who have experienced life before you. If every person has to relearn all the lessons of the people that came before them, then it's hard to make good progress. One of the things that I've talked about with my son recently, as he just turned 18, is that I want him to build on my success, and I want it to be positive, but I don't want it to be a detriment. So if you don't have the ability to learn from other people, you gotta learn all the things on your own. But if you don't get a good baseline of information, then you don't have a true respect for the hardships that came before other individuals. And so you're relearning things, or you take for granted certain things. I love that I had 2 older brothers, and I love that I still have 1 older brother. It was a positive influence on my life to have people that I could look up to that were experiencing life ahead of me that I could learn from. If you have an older brother, be sure to tell them thank you for the positive influence they've had on your life, and don't miss opportunities to be close to them and share experiences with them.